Hello, hello. Welcome to another WPSD Newsmakers program. I am Nick, and today we have a special guest. You will see him on the TV all the time. He is an everyone's favorite weatherman named Stephen Cropper.
Hello, Nick.
Thank you for coming here.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm curious, what's your work day like?
Normally, I go to work about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I work until midnight. So that sounds like a long time, but a lot of my time is spent putting the forecast together, and I'm only on television for about 9 or 10 minutes a day. So I spend a lot of time preparing, but then behind, when I'm actually in front of the camera, you know, it's a short amount of time. And I will put my forecast together, and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm on TV till 6:30. And then I take a little bit of a break, go home, hang out with my kids, my family, come back at 9 o'clock at night, put together the forecast, update it for the 10 o'clock news. And so I work from 10 to 11, and then we do an 11 to 11:30 newscast. It sounds like a long time, but I love it because it's never boring.
I'm curious, what was your first job in television?
Oh, good question. So I was an intern. An intern basically is an apprentice at a TV station in Atlanta. And I had an interesting route into television because I had dropped out of college. I was working for the airlines, Delta Airlines, and I was traveling, and it just wasn't really fulfilling. And growing up, my father was a minister, and so I watched him telling stories, delivering information, and so I love to write and tell stories. So I went back to communications and journalism school, and I interned doing lighting, because I thought TV people were uppity and pretentious. And I didn't want to be one of those. And while I was in the studio, the weatherman was in there. And he's the guy I hung out with. And he was awesome. He wore tennis shoes. He was working, and just a great guy. And he said, "You should try TV." And I thought, no, I'll never be able to do it. And so my first job in television was in Alabama, and I was a news anchor, but I also was a reporter, so I had to go out and report. I also was a producer, so I had to write my own copy, and I also had to run my own teleprompter, which are the words that come on the screen. So my first job was large in that I did a lot of things, but it was great because it was like an extension of my school.
You are the meteorologist.
Yes.
What kind of school you need for that?
So meteorology is just a specialized degree to study the weather. A lot of math, a lot of science, and they have a 4-year degree. So you could go to Penn State, you could go to Millersville, you could go to California University and major in meteorology just as you could major in any other 4-year subject. But what's interesting about meteorology is it's not like math. Accounting, for example, there's always a right answer. In meteorology, we don't know. So we're making guesses every day. We're making educated guesses every day. And it took a little while to get used to that. And a lot of people still think, you know, the weatherman doesn't know what he's talking about. But we're dealing with an atmosphere that is so large that we know very little about, and we're just trying to pick the forecast for a small area. So it's a great job because it's always challenging.
What is your most memorable experience in your career?
Right. So as a meteorologist, you know, we say that our number one job is to save lives. So if there's a tornado, for example, we want to be able to give that information. And it's always gratifying after a tornado or some kind of severe weather to know that no one was killed. But the most memorable has to be winter storms So the most recent one in 2010, February 2010, you were probably a little smaller, but we had 2 feet of snow, and I spent the night in the station just over the road here at Channel 4. We were forecasting the weather, and it was snowing really hard. So that was interesting to me. It was an amazing story to be a part of, to see that much snowfall.
When you grew up, who did you look up to and who you admire now?
At the time, I don't know that I really was aware of it, but my dad obviously had a big influence on the things I was doing and the way I was growing up. When I was growing up, so I'm 52, we didn't have as much information as you have now. So we didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have iPads. We had television and newspapers. So sports figures, athletes were oftentimes people that I looked up to, but more importantly, I enjoyed being around just other guys that I could see living life. I was in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts for a while. There were some great guys in there teaching me things about how to be a man and how to be a boy. But there was no one in particular that I watched on TV, or nobody in particular in a career that I followed.
You said you have kids.
Yes.
Tell us about your family.
Yes. I have a 13-year-old daughter who I cannot understand. I don't know anything about how to communicate with a 13-year-old girl. I have a 9-year-old son whose name is Carter. I have an 11-year-old son, Christian, and my daughter's name is Chloe. And my wife and I have been married for 22 years. And interestingly enough, my daughter, Chloe, was almost born in the Channel 4 studios. Yes, Miss Sarah might know that story, but she was in the control room, my wife was, while I was on television, and they wouldn't tell me about it because they thought I would mess up the forecast. And right after I got off the air, we went to the hospital and she was almost born there. So a lot of fond memories from Channel 4.
I bet you have a lot of fun. Someone told me that you're involved with charity work.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So, clearly I think we all need to give back wherever we are. I think we all have a responsibility because we are all blessed in certain ways to give back. So I work with the Salvation Army and do some work with them. I also work with a group called Young Life, which is a nonprofit Christian-based group that does high school work in many different high schools in the area, working eventually to help some kids in Haiti at an orphanage. After the earthquake there, just a lot of devastation, and so might do some charity work there too. But anytime I'm asked to MC an event or work with an event, I always try to clear my schedule and do that, because I think I've been given a platform where I get to meet people like you. I never would get a chance to meet you if I didn't work for a TV station, and so I always try to carve out time for that.
That's a great cause.
Yes.
Okay, we need your help. And we struggle here using green screen.
Yes.
How long it take you to become skilled with that?
It probably took 6 months of doing it regularly. And after practice, it became sort of a natural extension of where I work. But it does take practice. It's hard.
What advice could you give us if we want career in media?
Yes. Learn to tell a great story. What's your favorite hobby? Yours.
My favorite hobby, I like to play gym.
Yes.
And play basketball and play dodgeball.
Yes.
Dodgeball.
Yes. So you could, for 3 minutes, tell me about basketball, how to dribble, how to shoot, how to do the different plays. And I'm sure you could get excited about it and want me to learn about that.
I start in the team. We're trying to learn. We have a basketball camp weekend, trying to learn how to dribble,
Yes.
and how to learn shooting, how to make move your body, to guard, and try to get the ball, to get shoot in. And we learn a lot in Spurs and in camp.
So you just told me a story, which is fantastic, and you moved and you were into it. And that's what being a communicator is all about. Maybe you don't ever do it on TV, maybe you don't ever do it on the radio, but you're going to need to communicate the rest of your life. And you use your facial expressions and you say, I'm excited about this. And I could tell you were excited about that. So regardless of what job you get in life, you're always going to need to communicate and tell a good story. And I would encourage anyone interested in media, don't be self-confident. I had professors in college say, you're not good enough to be on TV. You'll never make it. And you know, at first I started thinking, well, maybe I'm not. But you don't know what's going to happen in your life. You've got the whole world ahead of you. And so don't let the no's be the things you listen to. Do what you're passionate about and give it a shot.
Well, Mr. Quadberg,
Yes.
time has run out. But I want to thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for the opportunity. You did a great job asking questions. Those were fantastic questions. And I wish you the best and happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you for watching WPSD Newsmakers. And please join us next time. We will talk to people who are the leader in our community. Bye.